Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be talking about comparison operators in JavaScript. So when we talk about comparison operators are actually operators which we use to compare values in JavaScript. Okay, so these are the comparison operators which we are going to be talking about in this video. We are going to be talking about the equal operator, strict equal, not equal, strict not equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, and less than or equal. I know that the names might sound a little bit confusing, but once we start with the examples, you're going to get it the right way. All right, so now let's start with the equal operator. So all of us might know the equal operator in mathematics, which is always like this, equal to. But in JavaScript and in programming, the equal operator, it's always double equals to, like this. So this is the equal operator. So this double equal to is the equal operator in JavaScript. So this is the equal operator. Okay, so now how do we use it? Let's say we have a value, let a equal to 5 and let b equal to 5. Okay, so now if we say let's try to print the value, so let's print console.log, and in the console.log let's say a equal to b. So we are checking, is a equal to b? Now if we save and print it out, let me open the terminal. On the terminal I'm going to type node index.js. So here you see it says true. Okay, so a is equal to b because 5 is a number, b is a number, and 5 is equal to 5. So a is equal to b, which is true. Now let's take for example, in case a was a number and b is a string. Let's make b a string. So enclosing it in single quote makes b a string. So a is a number and b is a string. So let's test this equal to and see what happens. Then I'll explain to you. So if I save it and I run the file, you see that it shows true. But I know you'll be asking the question, why does this show true when b is a string and a is a number? The reason is because this equal to in Java, this equal operator in JavaScript does it compares the value after a type conversion has been done on that value. So what happens is this b which is a string 5 is being converted behind the scene into a number 5. So once it is being converted, then that converted value is then compared with the value a, which makes it true. So in case we have another example, let's say a, we'll put a as 1 and we put b as true, which means in this case a is a number and b is a boolean. So if we put it like that, then we run, you see it also says true. The reason why it says true is because, like I said, the equal to operator compares the value after a type conversion has been done behind the scenes. So this true is converted to 1, which is to 1 behind the scenes. So that 1 now is compared to this 1, which becomes true. So now you can see that how the equal to operator works, but you can see that there are some possible errors, possible things that can go wrong. Let's say your application has a number and you're trying to compare it with a boolean. That's not okay, right? You cannot be comparing a number with a boolean in a real application. So the thing is, in this case we have to use the strict equal operator. So the strict equal operators representation will be the same equal to but 3 of them. You see, so this is a strict equal operator. So how does it work? So we have our first value, which is A, and we have our second value, which is B. And we can see clearly here that the first value is a number and the second value is a boolean. Let's say the first value A equal to the second value B. So let's save this and see what the result will be. Once we save it, let's run the program. And then you see here that we have false. So you see that using the equal operator, it tells us that A is equal to B. But when we use the strict equal operator, it shows us that A is not equal to B. Our answer becomes false. Why is it so? The reason why it is so is because, like I said, when you use the equal operator, it only compares the value after a type conversion has been done on these values. So that type conversion, if that value is converted into a number, then that operation is done and it leads to true. So this true is a boolean, and you know in boolean we have only two possible values, true or false. True represents 1 and false represents 0. So behind the scenes, compiler will convert this true to a value like 1, and then that 1 now will be compared to 1, which it would become true. But when we use the strict equal operator, the strict equal operator takes into consideration the type of that variable. So in this case, the type of our first variable is a number and the type of our second variable is a boolean. So you cannot be comparing a number and a boolean. So in this case, the strict operator looks at the type of number 1 and then looks at the type of B, which is boolean. Then in that case, it says no, these two are not the same. A is 1 while B is a boolean, true. So both of them are not the same. So let's try it again on the string. Let's say we have 5 here, which is a number. Then we have another 5 here, which is a string. So A is 5, B is 5. So let's run it and see the difference. Save. Then let's run. You see the same thing. A becomes true, B becomes false. So you see the first one becomes true, the second one becomes false. Why is that so? Because A is a number and B is a string. So the equal to considers it as true because after the compiler has converted this 5 behind the scenes and removes the double quotes, it looks like a number, so it becomes a number. So the compiler now says, okay, then 5 is equal to 5 without taking into consideration their type. But then when you come to the strict equal to, what happens? The JavaScript compiler now takes into consideration the type of that variable. So it says, okay, the first one, A, is a number, while B is a string. So you cannot be comparing a number and a string. So in this case, it is false. 5, which is a number, is not equal to 5, which is a string. So that is what happens. So as you can see, that is how the strict equals operator works. I hope you understand. If you don't, just leave a comment in the description below asking any question and I'll make a video on that. Alright, now the next operator, conditional operator, which we are going to be looking at is the not equal operator. And to represent the not equal operator, this is the symbol we use, the exclamation mark and 1 equal. So this is the not equal operator. So to see how it works, let me first of all comment out this part since we no longer need it. Okay, so now looking at the not equal operator, let's use two variables for this. So let A equal to 5 and let B equal to, let's use 5, which is a string. So now if we are to say console.log A not equal to B, what do you think will be the output? Well, let's find out. So if we save it and then we run the program, you see that here we get false. So why are we getting false? The reason why we are getting false is because the not equal to is just like the opposite of equal to. Okay, you remember the equal to, right? This is the equal to which we saw. This is the equal to. So the not equal to is just like the opposite. So in this case, when we looked at the equal, we saw that in this case 5 will be equal to 5. So well, if we use the equal, we are expecting it to be true. Let me just do it here. So you see console.log, sorry, so if we say a equal to b and we run it, you see here that a equal to b is true. So when we now check a is not equal to b, it becomes false because the compiler knows that a is equal to b. Okay, so the compiler thinks that a is equal to b. So when you check a is not equal to b, it becomes false because the compiler in this case knows that a is equal to b. Why? Because as we explained earlier, this equal to operator only compares the value after a conversion has been done. But now the not equal to also uses the equal part here uses the same logic as the equal to, so it only compares the value after the conversion has been done. So in that case, it thinks that the 5 should be same. So if you say that they are not equal, then this becomes false. Okay, so now if we are to check the case for the Boolean values again, let's say a is 1 and b is true, and then you save it. Let's run it. You see that here we have true and false again. So it says a equal to b, that's 1 equal to 1, is 1 equal to true. It says yes. Why? Because it is only compared after the conversion has been done and does not take into consideration the type of the variable. So in this case, if we now check a not equal to b, the answer becomes false because according to the compiler in this situation, a is equal to b. Now let's check out the strict not equal to. As you guessed right, the strict not equal to will be represented by double equal to. So now in this case, it will work differently because the strict not equal to will now check the type of the variable when doing the comparison. So in this case, if we say console.log a not equal to b, if you say console.log a not equal to b, and then we run the program, we save the program, then we run it, you now see that it gives us true. So can you see the difference now? When we use the single equal, that's for not equal, you will see that it was compared without taking into consideration the type. So in this case, 1 and 2 became equal to true, so it gave us true, and this gave us false. But now when we use the strict not equal, you see that we say is a not equal to b, that becomes true. Why? Because the types are being taken into consideration right now. So in this case, 1 is a number, a is a number, while b is a boolean. So is a number not equal to a boolean? Yes, that gives us true because a is not equal to b because a is a number and b is a boolean. So a not equal to b, using the type, taking into consideration the type, gives us true. So if we go back to the point where we had 5 here, and then we had the string 5, and then let's save it, then I'll run the program. You see here that we still get true. Why? Because 5 here in this case is a number, while 5 here is a string. So 5 is not equal to 5. So that's why we are getting true, because the compiler says that 5 is the a, which is a is a number, b is a string. So a is not equal to b because a is a number and b is a string. JavaScript can be very confusing at times, but I assure you with more practice you're going to get the hang of this. Okay, so now let's get to the next, which is the greater than. So I'll comment all of this out. All right, so now the next which we are going to be looking at is the greater than. So the greater than uses the greater than symbol, same as in mathematics we use the greater than symbol. So here let's say we have, let a equal to 1 and let b equal to 6. Okay, so if we are trying to check console.log, is a greater than b? So normally we know that should be false, right? So right, let's run the program. You see it gives us false. Why is that? Because a is is 1, b is 6, so 1 cannot be greater than 6. So a greater than b gives us false. So let's take for example if this were a string. So let's say we have the string b, we have the string a, and then here we have the string b. So in this case, when we save and then we run it, you will see that we have here, it says false. Why? Because a is smaller than b. Why is it so? This is because behind the scenes JavaScript is going to convert these into ASCII values. So a is going to be in ASCII value. I think a is going to be represented as 97, so that means b will be represented as 98. Okay, so in this case it checks if a, which is if 97 is greater than 98, which is false. So in this case a is smaller than b. So is a greater than b? No, a is smaller than b. So in that case we can check less than. So the less than operator, the less than operator will just be this as well. Okay, same as in mathematics. So if we now check, okay, console.log a less than b, and then we save it. So now running the program, you'll see now that we have here true. So you see we have true. Why? A is less than b, which means 97 is less than 98. So if we use another value, let me take this as 7, and then here we use another value, let me take it as 3. So and then we save it, then let's run it. You see here now that a is 7, b is 3. So a less than b, that's a greater than b, that's true. You see a is greater than b, 7 is greater than 3. And then is a less than b? That's false, because a7 is not less than b, so it gives us false. Now let's go to greater than or equal to. The next conditional operator which we will be checking is the greater than or equal to. So it is greater than or equal to. That's how it is written. So now in this case, let me comment this out, and then we are still going to use our two variables a and b. So let's a equal to 7 and let b equal to 3. So in this case, if we check console.log, is a greater than or equal to b? Let's save it, and then if we run the program, you see it says true. Now, how does a greater than or equal to work? Greater than or equal to. So it is checking the number, if the number is higher or equal to. So in this case, the number, let's say if we have, since we have here the number 7, a is 7. So in this case, 7 is greater than 1. 7 is greater than 2. 7 is greater than 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7 is greater than 1 to 6. But now the equal to part makes it possible for us to compare 7 to itself. So is 7 greater than 1? Yes. Is 7 greater than 2? Yes. Is 7 greater than 6? Yes. Then now, in this case now, if we include 7, is 7 greater than 7? The answer is no. But is 7 equal to 7? The answer becomes yes. So that is why if we now have b to be 7, if we now have b to be 7, and then I save the program, if I run the code now, you see that we still have true. We still get true. Why are we getting true? This is because 7, even though 7 is not greater than 7, but 7 is equal to 7. So this condition checks, is 7 greater or equal to? Okay, so the or makes two conditions possible. So 7 can be greater than the other number or equal to it. So A can be greater than B or equal to B. So both cases will become true. Okay, so 7 greater than or equals to 7, that gives us true. Let's check another example. Console.log. Let's say is 5 greater than or equal to 6. In this case, let's run the program. You see that we have false. So 5 is not greater than 6. Neither is 5 equal to 6. Okay. But then if we put a number below like 4 and then we save it, let's run the program. You see that we get true. Why? 5 is greater than 4. Okay. Then if we are going to use 5 here and then we save it, then we run the program, you see that it still gives us true. Why? Because 5 is equal to 5. All right. So that is how the greater than or equal to operator works. Now let's see the less than or equal to operator. So the less than or equal to operator is represented as this, less than or equal to. That is how it is represented. So now to check it, let's say console.log 5 less than or equal to 6. Okay, so we are checking here, is 5 less than or equal to 6? Let me comment this out so it won't confuse us. Okay, so we just have one output here. Okay, let me save it. Let's run the program. You see here we have true. Why is that? Because 5 is less than 6, so we are having true. So let's see another example. Console.log 8 less than or equal to 4. Save, run. You see it gives us false. Why is that? Because 8 is not less than 4, neither is 8 equal to 4. So in this case we have, it gives us false. But now if we now go to the third example, say console.log 4 less than or equal to 4, you see that here now we get true. Why is that? 4 is not less than 4, but 4 is equal to 4. So the condition checks if is 4 smaller or equal to 4. That gives us true because 4 is equal to 4. So in this case we have true. Okay, so that is it about the comparison operators in JavaScript, and in the next video we are going to continue with logical operators in JavaScript. Be sure to stick around and make sure to practice more often. If there is anything you don't understand, just leave a comment in the description below and I'm going to try as much as possible to make a video on that. Okay, thank you very much for watching and I will see you in the next video.